Hello BookTube, welcome back to my channel. My name is Juan. I am just one reader, trained psychoanalyst, practicing psychotherapist here in Mexico City, weird, crazy bibliophile, and just overall a weird person. Today I am ranking the top 10 books that I read in 2023. I am so excited every single time that I make this video at the end of the year. It's my favorite time of year, I swear. So without any further ado, these are my top 10 books read in 2023, which I will be ranking really based more than anything else on my enjoyment, my experience. You know, I can objectively see that some of these books are better than others, but really what I am taking into account when making lists such as this is just, you know, the feeling, the vibe, the emotion, the passion. So let's get started. Coming in at number 10, Brat Farrar by Josephine Tey. This is a novel that really took me by surprise. I would recommend this book to readers who have enjoyed Daphne du Maurier, Sarah Waters, maybe if you enjoy Alfred Hitchcock's work in film and TV shows. This is set in England, in a manor house. There's an estate, there's like an English, like a very British family. There's stolen identity at its core. It's a mystery, it's suspenseful, it's elegantly written without being flowery or pretentious. It's very short and easy to read, and I just think this is a really, really good novel, just like a good mystery, suspenseful thriller. Coming in at number 9, Melmoth by Sarah Perry, the author who gave us The Essex Serpent. Now, this book, Melmoth, might not be as amazing as The Essex Serpent. It really can't really live up to The Essex Serpent, but that's okay. Melmoth really also took me by surprise because of the writing. The writing manages to be, especially at the beginning of the book, the opening section of the book, evokes this feeling of chill and horror in the air. It's just such a chilling novel in its atmosphere. Thematically, I think the novel is really interesting. At the end of the book, there are some things that I wish she would have done differently. That's why it's not a really superb novel, but it's such a rich, atmospheric, beautifully written, gothic, chilling tale, and I really recommend it, especially if you have enjoyed Sarah Perry's work previously. Then coming in at number 8, Anne of Green Gables by M Montgomery. This book is just, you know, delightful and just a joy to read. I was very close to tearing up with this book because of the way that the author portrays the relationships between the children, you know, specifically Anne, but really the children and the adults in this little village. There were some passages here that I was really moved by, almost moved to tears. I really like that this kinds of books, this kind of literature really respects children and thinks very highly of children and what adults can learn from their children. So I really loved this. It was so funny, so sweet without being cloyingly sweet, and I just fell in love with this world. Coming in at number 7, By Light We Knew Our Names, a short story collection by Anne Valenti. If you're looking for a good short story collection that is not going to take a lot of your time, but it's going to give you a lot of food for thought and really interesting, haunting, atmospheric writing, this is the stuff. Some of the stories in here, most of the stories in here are pretty surrealistic or fabulist, I guess would be the right word. They are kind of mythical feeling, but at the same time really grounded in their own reality, but they speak to our reality, both as society and also individually. I just think these stories are so wonderful, and they are the kinds of stories that I personally like reading, which are kind of really imaginative, unique works of short fiction. And you know, something that I love about reading a good short story collection is that I appreciate just how damn hard writing a good short story can be. Coming in at number 6 is my favorite nonfiction book of the year, which is a book about theater, Broadway musicals, but also I think this book would appeal to anyone who's interested in artistic and human endeavors, teamwork, and a labor of love and putting something together. This is Song of SpiderMan by Glenn Berger. The subtitle is The Inside Story of the Most Controversial Musical in Broadway History, Spider-Man: Turn of the Dark, which was a musical that I actually saw on Broadway when it opened like more than 10 years ago, and it was a train wreck. And this is the book that tells you about the train wreck. What went wrong, what could have gone right, and eventually why this became the successful, popular disaster that it was, the failure of Broadway. It's an amazing book. If you like reading about Broadway, you will love it because this really goes backstage into the makings and the undoing of a Broadway musical, but it's wonderfully told. Like, the storytelling in this book is it's like watching a good documentary. It's funny. It's so funny. I laughed hysterically reading this book. But it's also really touching and just, one of those things that, reality beats fiction. It's incredible that this happened. Then coming in at number 5, The Running Grave, which is book number 7 in the Cormoran Strike detective series by Robert Galbraith, aka J.K. Rowling, one of my favorite writers. I just was completely taken by surprise with this novel. This gave me everything that I want from a good suspenseful thriller. It's about a cult, so it's about religion, which I think is the most horrifying subject under the sun, religion, and that kind of groupthink and cult oppression, and the atmosphere was so claustrophobic. I really, really loved it. I loved everything about this book. It was so long, and I wish it had been longer because I would have gobbled it up. It was suspenseful. It was terrifying. I was actually scared with a book, finally. Something that no horror novel can do, this actually was able to achieve. Make me feel scared. Religion and cult thought can be so incredibly chilling, and it was wonderfully written. I loved the character work that she did in this novel, in this installment in the series. I loved the writing, was really, really wonderful and cleaner than in previous installments. I just loved everything about this book. Now, coming in at number 4 is the biggest surprise of my reading year, because I never thought this would be so high up on this list. This is The Rehearsal by Eleanor Catton, and the reason why I actually read this book or bought it in the first place was because of her other more popular novel, The Luminaries, which won the Pulitzer and all of those accolades back in the day, and I liked The Luminaries quite a lot, and I had bought The Rehearsal as a result of that many years ago, but I never thought I would actually pick it up. And then this year, I just saw it there on the shelf, and it was looking at me, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna read The Rehearsal. And oh my God, not only was this much better than The Luminaries, in my opinion, I just thought this book was incredible. It's short, it's concise. The writing is just magical because it's exactly the kind of writing style that I completely adore. It's simple, it's elegant, it's also experimental, but in an accessible way that you can actually follow and understand. So it is experimental and very imaginative and kind of breaks the fourth wall, and it's kind of a meta book. It's a book about storytelling itself and art itself and the making of a story and putting a story together. So it's kind of a very meta novel, but it's so easy to read and you never get lost, and it just keeps adding on to these layers of wonder. This is a book about a scandal at a school, but it's also about theater, and it's about so many things. I don't want to spoil it. I just urge you to go and pick this up. Coming in at number 3 is the last book in the Soldier's Son trilogy by Robin Hobb, which is now one of my favorite pieces of fantasy literature, just period. This trilogy, the Soldier's Son trilogy, I kid you not, this is the stuff you have to try. If you haven't read Robin Hobb by now, who are you? Like, why are you here? Just pause this video, go and read The Realm of the Elderlings by Robin Hobb. But if you don't want to commit to The Realm of the Elderlings, which I respect that, because it's like a 16 book series, so it is quite the commitment. It took me around 2.5 years. If you want to read Robin Hobb without committing that much, try the Soldier's Son trilogy. It's a trilogy. It's just a standalone trilogy. It's amazing. It's one of the best things that I've ever read in my life, period. This particular book, book 3, what is it? Renegade's Magic. It's not my favorite in the series. I think the second book, Forest Mage, was just like so unbelievably, spectacularly good that this book just kind of wasn't there. However, this book alone, the writing, the character work, the themes, and something that really blows my mind, I don't know how she did it. Robin Hobb manages in here to wrap everything up and give you a satisfying ending, but not in the expected way, not in the way that you would think the story would wrap up and be satisfying, but also bittersweet, but also realistic. It's kind of weird the way that she did it, but I am in awe of what Robin Hobb can do. Coming in at number 2 is Liberation Day by George Saunders. This is honestly one of the best short story collections that I've ever read. And for many months, I actually thought this would be my number 1 book of the year. The only reason why I am putting this as my number 2 instead of my number 1 is because, what I have in my number 1 spot was just the most fun I've ever had in recent years reading a book. However, Liberation Day by George Saunders. That's my review. Completely nonplussed and at a loss for words. Liberation Day is everything that I'm looking forward to when I am reading short fiction. The writing is the best. I mean, he is the best writer that I've ever read in terms of the construction of sentences, like the structure of sentences, and the choosing of words and the selection of every single punctuation mark, on that kind of micro level of writing. I think he's the best writer that I've ever read in my life. Moreover, George Saunders writes exactly the kind of stories that I think are the best. Imaginative, creative, unique. You've never read anything quite like this. They are bizarre, magical, outlandish, science fiction-y, borderline actual fantasy, and still completely believable. They are just the best mixture of genres. These are genre-bending stories. Like, if you've enjoyed Black Mirror, the Netflix show, this is like that, but on steroids. This is like the granddaddy of Black Mirror. If you've enjoyed the TV show Severance on Apple TV Plus, this is for you. You will love this book and every other book that George Saunders has written. But this was just amazing. Each story, I was applauding at the end of each story. The way that he writes is just unbelievable. You have to read George Saunders. And finally, we've come to my number 1 spot. And I say spot because I actually have 2 books. It's a tie, but really they are in my head kind of one and the same. They are companions. The reason why I am choosing these books as my favorite reading experience of the year is because they took me by surprise. I completely fell in love with the author, with his writing style, his storytelling, the humor, the mystery, the quick but elegant prose. Sure, these books are commercial fiction. It's not like high art, classical literature. It's not exactly that. It's not trying to be that. It's just the best commercial fiction that I've ever read in this particular murder mystery genre. And I need to read more by this author. Okay, I am talking, of course, about Magpie Murders and Moonflower Murders, both of which are written by Anthony Horowitz, my favorite author discovered in 2023. Oh my God. When I read Magpie Murders, which was several months ago, I was completely taken by the author and by his writing. The characters, the structure of the books, which if you've read them, you know what I'm talking about. These are books within books, so it's a mystery within a mystery, surrounded in more mystery, connected to other mysteries. It's unreal. I'm just remembering when I first read this original Magpie Murders, I actually stayed up, and it was a work day. It was a work day, and I had to stay up till like 3-4 in the morning because I could not put it down until I had to know the ending. And then next month, the month after that, I read the sequel, Moonflower Murders, and it was just as good. I think of the two, my favorite is Magpie Murders because I just love what he did with this particular mystery and with the the meta aspect of this book. And you know, these books are hilarious. Like, it's the entire reading experience. It's the real deal. It's the whole package. So if you haven't read anything by Anthony Horowitz, if you haven't read the Magpie Murders, Moonflower Murders series, what are you doing? These are the best experience. These are together combined the best experience that I've had since I finished the Soldier's Son trilogy by Robin Hobb. And there you go. Those are my top 10 books read in 2023. Thank you so much for watching this video. Thank you so much for sharing another weird, crazy, bibliophilic year with me. I look forward to reading your comments down below, and I look forward even more to sharing more books with you in the upcoming year 2024. Thank you so much for watching. I am Just One Reader. I will see you next year.